First item we have on the agenda is assignment for request for council action. We have several for the Finance Committee. We have 21-164 budget amendments, 21-165 fund transfer request from the Muni Court, 21-166 fund transfer request for TIF fund, 21-167 fund advance request for CDBG CHIP grants, 21-168 fund advance request for TIF district, 21-169 expenditure over $15,000 Davis Tree Farm Forestry, 21-170 RFPs drug screen and related professional services, 21-171 amend salaries and benefits code water department changes, 21-172 MCRC job description revision recreation supervisor, 21-173 expenditure over $15,000 DNR commercial flooring MCRC, 21-174 reject proposal for MCRC sponsorships, 21-175 fiscal year 21 CDBG grant amend ordinance 92-21, 21-176 and then and now for the emergency railroad repair, 21-177 loan application OPWC North Huntington Street reconstruction phase 3, 21-178 purchase of 2 dump truck beds for F550 street department, 21-179 amend salaries and benefits code section 3109.1 regarding overtime for the fire, 21-180 amend American Rescue Plan Grant Act potential projects discussion. Next item we have is 18-138 Medina Meow Fix funding proposal and memorandum of understanding. I think this came from special legislation, so Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, let me go over a couple of things. We passed this out as special legislation. Originally, the request was for $20,000 based on the estimate of the number of cats that would probably be rescued, and the spay and neutering vaccine and other costs. That was the reason for the request for $20,000. It came out of committee at $10,000 with an expectation that there was the likelihood of a local foundation that would fund the additional $10,000 that had been requested. And as we were putting this together, it became clear earlier in the week that the Medina Meow Fix, while they had the EIN number, they did not have the paperwork yet back from the state for the establishment of the 501c3. And that alone would then, that in itself, from discussions I had with Mr. Huber, the law director, would delay the time. You know, if we vote in favor, it would delay the time that they could get the funding to begin the work. But tonight I was made aware of a new proposal in order to not delay this and move it forward, and that is to simplify the process so that the funding from the city would not go to Medina Meow Fix, but it would go to the SPCA. And the SPCA would then use that funding for the purpose of the spay and neutering, as we had established when it was going to the Medina Meow Fix. It would be used for the same purpose, but the accounting of it would be from the SPCA, so that Councilman Rose, who does the review of that for the SPCA, it would be similar to what he's doing already, but it would include that of this $10,000, this is how the money was spent and this is where it was spent. So it eliminates the issue of, in the conversation I had with attorneys, they said it's in all likelihood Medina Meow Fix clearly is a 501c3 and will get the paperwork. It was filed by an attorney. However, I understand the reluctance to act on that now without seeing the paperwork. But this proposal, which Medina Meow Fix has worked out with the SPCA, would simplify it and allow us to begin the program sooner if it passes, which I think is important. Time is of the essence, really, right now. When you look at the numbers of feral and abandoned cats that are being brought in now, and the numbers that will be coming in, that it's important to get a start on this right now. And just to clarify a couple other things that I think are important to understand, in the United States, it is estimated that there are between 60 and 160 million homeless cats that are roaming the streets, are in parks, or are in neighborhoods. And feral cats and abandoned cats do not live, they don't live to an old age. It's not something that they're just living outside and having a good life. Many homeless cats, feral cats, are tortured by cruel people. They're attacked by other animals, and they're hit by cars. Others die from exposure, which is pretty obvious if you think about the conditions that they live in. They die from starvation. They die from highly contagious fatal diseases such as rabies, feline AIDS, feline leukemia, and feline infectious peritonitis. Many people consider homeless cats to be a nuisance. And because they're a nuisance, there are people that take matters into their own hands, and they decide to eliminate the cats in some manner, maybe by drowning, maybe by poisoning, or otherwise killing cats in a cruel way. A point of reference in our community, not long ago, it was brought to my attention that there was a senior citizen living at a residence alone who was attempting to take care of feral cats that were in her neighborhood. The response of people there was that they threw feces on her house, on her residence, and if they could catch the cats, they would stomp them to death. In our community, I don't think that those are the kind of things that we want to happen. And that's why this program matters, because it will deal with the issue of abandoned and feral cats in the only reasonable way that you can, and that is through a TNR program. Feral cats die from things that are easily treatable if they have availability of a veterinarian. But if they don't have regular veterinary care, they can die from puncture wounds that turn into infections, untreated upper respiratory infections, cause cat's eyes and nose to become caked with mucus so they can barely breathe. Cats often scratch their ears until they bleed. They're driven mad by the pain from ear mites and related infections. Others die of blood loss or anemia because of worms or fleas, and urinary tract infections frequently lead to urinary blockage in male cats, which cause a very slow and painful death. So why time matters? So why have I been saying it's important that we get moving on this? One part of it is simply about humanity, because if you consider the conditions that exist for the animals themselves, minus us, then it is simply about the humanity of caring about how we treat animals. Secondly, it is about the populations themselves. Why we need to get started now. A cat can have kittens when it's 6 months old. A cat's gestation period is roughly 2 months. So a cat can have 5 litters in 1 year. And the average size of a litter is 5 cats. So do the math. And if you do that math, you can see why it's important that we get started on this now. We have an excellent program put together. It is a partnership, it's a collaboration between a nonprofit, between another nonprofit, the SPCA, and a Mission Possible that is providing the veterinary care. It is what we've always done best, partner. And when we partner, we not only get good programs, but we also save money. So I am hopeful tonight that with, I think, pretty good understanding that we will have money forthcoming from a foundation to bring us back to the amount that we wanted, if we can agree to pass this tonight, move it up to council, put on the emergency clause, the money can get to the SPCA. All the folks that have worked on this for the past 6 months will be able to get to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on that? I have one follow-up with you. You talked about the SPCA. I guess, did you or Paul talk to the SPCA, and do we have something
we have
set up?
Hi, I'm
Tracy.
Miller, the Director of Operations at the SPCA, and we do agree that we will work in a partnership with the outfits to accept the funds and make sure it goes towards the city of Medina cats.
Yeah, that was my question. I guess when cats come in, how do you, I know we have, through Paul's efforts, finding out where they come from. I guess, is there going to be like then receipts? Because I think you use a third party.
Yes.
Oh, have her, can you step to the microphone in the rear there? I'm sorry. I'm getting a finger, some gestures back there. Not the finger, but so they can hear you what you say. Thank you.
Hi, yes. We have always documented where all the cats come from, more so since I started full-time in 2013. So every animal that is brought into the SPCA is tracked. We go as far as to get an address of where they've come from or a roundabout address of where they've come from. So that will continue. And then everything is tracked in our computer. And then as they go to be fixed, we still have that information in our computer. So that all goes back to when they originally come in. Paperwork is still signed, whether it's going to be TNR or whether they're going to come into our shelter. So that will all continue to be tracked. We have paperwork that's been drawn up before this, that's been drawn up for weeks.
Good. A couple other questions. Let's start with the TNR program. So the cats are delivered to the SPCA. How are they caught and are they charged? Is the resident charged for catching them, or do just volunteers go out and gather the cats and then bring them to you, the SPCA?
It happens a couple different ways. Okay. If the cats are friendly and they're going to be adoptable, then they come into the SPCA and they stay with us or go into foster until they're ready to be fixed and adopted out. If they're going to be TNR, there's a group of people that have been doing TNR on their own, such as Tiffany and Michelle, and they will continue to do that, and they've gotten in other volunteers to help them with that, and that's how the Meow Fix was formed with Carrie. So if they're feral, they will not come to the SPCA, but they still will be tracked paperwork-wise to know where every cat comes from. Everything will go into our system and be tracked. Everything will have a paper trail as well as electronic. And if they're TNR, they'll either go right to Mission Possible or they will be held on to by Michelle or by Carrie or another volunteer for that organization until they can be spayed and neutered.
Now, if they're TNR'd, I would assume, since the law in Ohio is somewhat unique, you have to release them back where you caught them.
Correct.
Just to keep records straight, do we have the homeowner then sign something?
Yes.
So that we keep track of making sure it's the city of Medina, and then the receipts are kept from the vet to make sure that, and I assume it's not only the spade and neutering, but additional vaccinations
Correct.
that occur at that
All
time?
of that is going to be tracked.
And is there like a
Absolutely.
cost cap that you, the SPCA, work with the vet to say, okay, wait, we have to spade and neuter, this is X dollars. What vaccines are you given to the feline, so we know? I mean, is that all? And then once you keep track of all that and give us the documentation, is that then how we then from the city give you the money for reimbursement at that time, or is it that you get the money up front before the reimbursement? I guess I'm confused on how that works. How do you know how much it's going to cost until it's over?
From what I understand, it's going to be earmarked. We are going to get it ahead of time, and it's going to be earmarked in a separate fund, which then will be tracked by myself directly and our bookkeeper, and funds will only come out of that direct account. It's all our account in the bank, but everything is separated by our bookkeeper. And I will be keeping track of that, and the funds will be coming out of different accounts depending on whether it's TNR, whether it's Medina TNR, and whether it's normal cats coming through the SPCA.
Okay, good. And now I know Paul's been our lead person on council who's been working with the SPCA to get the information. Does that mean that Paul then will get the backup, receipts and stuff to cross?
Whatever he wants, I'll
Yeah.
be happy to
So I
provide.
don't know what Paul, I mean, hopefully you'll take that up again and
Yeah,
you'll,
this is the first I'm hearing about it. I would have to sit down with
I'll be
somebody
happy to
and-
sit down with you
yeah,
and
go
go
through it
over
all.
whatever you need.
okay, because I would assume that you still want to take the lead on the relationship
Yes,
with
yes,
council and
yes.
the city and the SPCA. Okay, that's good. Good.
Yeah, we work well with Paul.
Good. Yep. Danny, you have a question? follow-up question?
Since these are two different organizations, the SCPA and Meow, Medina Meow, Fix, the second organization is going to be doing fundraisers and selling different merchandise to collect money in the future, because this, for the city, this is supposedly a one-year, one-time donation to you. Will your money, Carrie, will your money from your organization then, when you collect it, will it automatically go into the same fund as the SPCA?
Yes, could you go to the microphone too? Whoever speaks out there, just go to the microphone because we're being televised and we want to make sure everybody's heard.
The account that we have for the city is going to be the city account. Any funds that are allotted to us from the city, if this is approved to go to the SPCA,
Correct.
will be for city cats only. It's
Right.
going to be city funds only. It will not go for T-shirts. It will not go for advertising. It will not go for traps. It's going to go for city cats, for TNR only.
Yeah,
It's
and
not
I-
going to spay and neuter any other cats than feral
No,
cats.
and I totally understand that.
But any of the fundraising that I do or our group does, that's going into a separate account that I've already launched 2 accounts at First National. And if the SPCA ends up taking over for the city, that one account will be closed and then just transferred, everything would be transferred to the SPCA. The other account that we have is the Meow Fix account, which now the T-shirt money would go into. Anything that I get on Amazon donations, any donations I'm getting would go into that, would pay for our traps. It would pay for, let's say I have a volunteer driving, I'm going to give them gas money or a gas card, things like that to keep the organization running.
Okay, thank you, answer my
Yes.
question, thank you.
Mrs. Hazeltine?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to briefly speak in support of the work that Medina Meow Fix has already done. Has been tremendous. We began this journey back in April, Councilman Lamb and I. We visited several places, we spoke with a lot of people, and we discovered very quickly that Carrie Huff knows her stuff. She does. She put in endless hours of work on the phone with the state, different animal protection agencies. She worked closely with Attorney Jeff Holland and his partner Dana that did work for the SPCA. She worked with them. She really has all of her ducks in a row. I can ask her husband, anything, and they can tell me that number right off the top of their head. I spoke with them yesterday about their progress, all the positive comments on Facebook of the people that are stepping up and saying how they've been taking all of these cats in out of their own pocket. I mean, this is a city problem. And we have such wonderful residents that they have done this for so many years out of their own. But Michelle does not even live in Medina. She lives in Brunswick, and she has done, I can't remember the number now, but I would say at least, would we say 30 cats from Medina City this year on the low side? Yeah, it's higher than that. I mean, these are people that are going above and beyond. So since Councilman Lamb and I were able to meet with Carrie and Michelle and Tiffany and form this great nonprofit. I'm sorry, is there a question in the audience? Okay. Just all of the work that they have done since we were able to put this dynamic team together. I spoke with them yesterday, and Mike has already, on top of it, told me the number has even grown since the figure that I have from yesterday. 12 cats in the last week and a half they have handled the TNR for. Now keep in mind, we have not given them any funding yet. So these are people are funding out of their own pocket or out of that separate account that Carrie spoke of where they've raised money in the community. People recognize that this is a problem and they are willing to donate to it. And I really feel as a city, it's our responsibility to fund a city problem with city dollars. But those 12 cats in the last week and a half, which I believe, Mike, what did you say it's up to now, 14? Yeah. When it was 12 cats, They single-handedly, just this Medina Meowfigs group, took 4,200 cats in 3 years off of the streets of Medina. They eliminated 4,200 feral cats just from treating those 12 cats out of their own pocket. Our residents are doing this, and it's amazing. I just cannot say enough good things about Medina Meowfigs, the dedication that this group has shown since we started working with them in April, and I cannot support this enough. As I said, it is a city problem. The collaboration between the SPCA and Medina Meowfigs is fabulous. And we have the opportunity as a city to be part of this, to be part of funding residents, a problem that residents have come to us. And look, there's people here. There were people here when we first started talking about it. People care about this. And we have the opportunity to be part of such a great partnership that was formed by this great group of people. So I would just like to, again, commend Medina Meowfigs for what you're already doing and what I know you will do once we can get some funding your way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, I have some more questions, but go on.
Go ahead.
Oh, my question is, we started out with feeding wild animals legislation a while back. We've morphed into just taking care of feral cats. Where do we stand on feeding wild animals and the deer and stuff? Do we have any proposals to deal with those?
Okay. First, I don't think we morphed into it, actually. I think we stumbled into it.
I think we were educated
I think what we
into it.
decided to do is we had worked for, I think for a couple of years, I think, on particular language to deal with wild animals, and it was particularly with deer and in some cases geese. We ended up including in that I think if you can correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but I think it was about 2 or 3 sentences that we were really looking at, that we worked on for all that time, trying to make that issue with wild animals something that we thought we could use in extreme cases, but it wouldn't be the kind of language that would turn neighbor against neighbor. And then we ended up putting in the dogs and the cats, and that was when we realized, or I realized anyway, the huge mistake I had made, and we needed to separate them out, and so we spent the time learning about cats. Nothing particularly has changed in the meantime with the intention to deal with the wild animals. And as I've said to some other council people, once we got this issue, which, like I said, required a bit of education, then we can move on. We can move back, go forward with the legislation that we originally worked on, which was to deal with the issue of feeding wild animals within the city limits.
Okay.
So
you're still working on that part of
Yeah,
it?
but I have something to say about that.
One second, please, one second.
Okay.
So you're still working on the
It's still,
legislation?
it's absolutely still in committee, but the two needed to be separated out, and this was a whole lot more to put together than we had ever planned on, I think, initially in the beginning. And so this has come to a good result, I think. Then we can move on with the wild animals.
Okay, gotcha. No, I just want to make sure that we didn't forget about the deer,
No.
so to speak.
How could I forget about it?
Never forget about the deer.
I've got 15 of them in my backyard.
They're always here, but on this proposal this evening, I guess this kind of changed a little bit too from what's on the agenda. What you're asking is that council approve funding directly to the SPCA to be used exclusively for
Yes.
the trap and neuter program of feral cats only in the city of Medina.
Feral and abandoned cats.
Feral and abandoned cats
Yes.
in the city of Medina.
Yes.
However, the feral and abandoned cats get to the SPCA, because I guess that's the part that I'm missing is how do they get there? It could get there multiple ways from what my understanding from what you indicated. They can get there being trapped by various residents in the city of Medina, or somebody themselves at their own yard can trap them and take them to the SPCA and have them taken care of. And the SPCA then will make the determination, from what I understood, of if they're going to be some cat that can be reintegrated or readopted into a family setting, or they're such an animal that can never be domesticated, let's call it, to be put into a home. They'll have to be spayed and neutered and put back on the property. That's what you're saying?
I think that's basically right. Tell me if not, but I think exactly what you're saying is true.
Okay.
Many cats that are feral are the kittens of cats that were abandoned. I mean, that's where that somewhat starts. And the only other thing I want to comment on for sure is Councilman Simpson, when you were talking about the one-year program, the idea wasn't a one-year program. The idea was that the first year would be, we would view the first year with regard to funding as a pilot program, with the expectation that if you look at the statistics, if you have a muscular TNR program, which we will have because of the way it's put together in the funding, within 2 years you can reduce the feral and abandoned cat population by between 60 and 70%. So that means that the funding levels would begin to drop after 2 years. But the 1 year as a pilot program, that gives us the information that we need to look at to see how effective we've been, because we can get a baseline, over 12 months. So I'd like to look at it as we originally talked as a pilot program, not like 1 year and then we're going to, shut the door and go away.
I do have one more question before you go to Carrie.
Yes.
You say you were going to reduce the population. That's because they'll be trapped and neutered, but in a lot of cases, they won't be able to be adopted. They'll be returned to where they were trapped initially. So the only thing we're going to be really eliminating in those cases is them creating more cats. But the feral cat is still going to be in the neighborhoods. And the complaints that I had was that, from residents, was, these cats are, coming up on my porch or, and meowing and a lot of people was feeding them. And a lot of them felt that they were a nuisance. So the only thing we're really going to be eliminating, the majority of, which I think is great, and I support your organization 100%, don't get me wrong, is we're going to be preventing these cats from reproducing, the ones that are trapped, and we'll be able to follow them because they will have a chip. But I don't want the residents to think that within 2 or 3 years we're going to eliminate feral cats, because that's not going to be.
Well, here's the cool thing, though. It's a great question, because once the cat's spayed or neutered, that aggressiveness of the cat, because they're no longer mating,
Right.
And they become calmer, they become less active, and they don't travel as far.
Okay.
Because of the spay and neutering. So it is important, as you said, to understand, patience is a virtue in everything that we do, particularly in government. So it will reduce the population, though, because of what we talked about.
Sure.
The one cat can have 5 litters,
Right.
You have these litters, and then they have 5 cats in a litter, and you multiply them out. So if you think about it exponentially, what can happen is, just Councilman Hazelton was pointing out, it will hugely eliminate once the spay and neutering is the key. But then the good thing to keep in mind is cats calm down once they are no longer in the they've been spayed and neutered.
Right.
That's my understanding anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess to follow up on your point, if you do a trap and release and the SPCA, does it and delivers them back to the property, I guess there's nothing prohibiting the property owner to catch that cat again and take it back to the SPCA and say, I don't want it. You're allowed to do that, right?
We won't take it if it's feral.
They don't take feral cats.
Well, what happens if somebody leaves it there? What do you do with it then?
What
Yeah,
we would,
if you would, yes. I mean, because I guess that's what the SPCA is there for. I mean, if there's an
But
animal.
that's not how the program works. The program.
No, I'm not talking about the trap.
That's a legitimate
I'm just
question.
talking
Straight
about the question, like, if it's put back on somebody's property, and with Denny's point, I don't want that cat on my property, they could catch it and take it to you. What do you do with it?
So here's the thing. This group was created to help the people that want the help. So if somebody reaches out to me, Medina Meow Fix, and says, I have this feral cat I can't touch, but I will allow you to put it back on my property, but I don't have the funds to fix it.
Okay.
If you fix it and I sign this release, you can release it back to me. There are some people that say, I don't want this on my property.
Right.
And that's really not what Medina Meow Fix is about. I mean, they do want to help these people, but the main area that we're going to try to focus on between the SPCA and Meow Fix is working on these that the people say, yes, you can release them back here. I'll feed them, I don't want any more babies, or maybe they won't feed them and they let them fend for themselves. But the result is they're now not going to have a litter of kittens in May, a litter of kittens in August, in October. There are some people that say, I don't want them. And in those cases, like Michelle just helped me place 2 cats that were brought to us. They seemed semi-friendly. We weren't really sure. We get them into the shelter. They're climbing our walls, bit 3 different people. And of course, this lady is not going to take the cat back. In those instances, Michelle reached out to someone she knows, found a barn that's willing to take them. We will also advertise more as we get more feral cats in this program. If people don't want them back, they have to sign that they will agree to take them back. But if they ask us for help in placing them, we will do more advertising of if you're looking for a barn cat that's already fixed, that already has its rabies, that has the FERCP vaccine, that's been looked at by a vet, we'll be happy to release it at no charge to you. Right now, the SPCA charges a $25 fee because we're paying to fix them. But if it's part of the Meow Fix, they can go to the barn at no charge.
One more question while you're still there.
Sure.
What currently happens in the city of Medina with feral cats that are brought to the SPCA? Because I'm sure,
If they're feral cats and they're brought to us, we turn them away. That was never our agreement to take feral cats. If they're non-social.
how often does that happen right now? How many do you get?
From the city of Medina?
Yeah. Just so I know kind of what's
If I
happening.
had to guess, we probably turn about 20 away a year from the city,
Okay.
if I had to put a number on it.
Okay.
Some we take and we try to socialize if they're young enough, but if they're adults and they're feral or they're hissing and trying to bite, we're not going to take them.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I'm sure it happens today. I just wanted to know what happens. I mean,
Yes.
What's going on.
And there are some people that will leave them. I've had it happen where
Right.
you're going to take this cat and then they drive away and leave it in our driveway. And in that case, sometimes we have to euthanize if we can't get near the cat, touch the cat, and we have nowhere for the cat to go. Other times, what we'll do is we'll hang on to it, get it fixed, like in this situation that we took the cat last Friday, and release it to a barn.
Good. Okay. You answered my questions. Thanks.
Sure.
Carrie, you wanted to add up?
All I was going to say is, I know we were talking about the deer when this started. Well, I have been on with the ODNR about that, and I'm more than willing to bring the ODNR here and have them work with you, because I know Mayor Hanwell, we are not going to do a call and kill the deer. That's not even on the board. So if we do want to work with the ODNR and maybe try to get a program working with the birth control, the darting, then we can probably try working on that. Because if we're able to dart these deer and do a 3-year birth control program, I would be more than happy to work on a program with the deer, with the ODNR, with our city, and get a program for that. As far as the geese, which I know are a headache, one of the best programs we found for the geese is people bringing the dogs to run the geese off. And people actually have working dogs that go to lakes and they chase the geese away. So that is a program that is working, and it works in a lot of municipalities. But as far as the deer go, if we're not going to have a call in our city, then we need to work on a birth control program. Right now, it's not approved, and the state of Ohio owns the deer, and so we need to work with the ODNR.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, that's the whole point that we have here with the city. Is kind of frustrating a little bit. I mean, the state, they do own the deer, so technically, it's their problem.
Right.
So I don't know if we can force them to solve their problem, and whatever way they want to solve it, I guess we have no say. But we really shouldn't be paying for solving the state's problem. So maybe we can figure a way to communicate with the state that we are having a nuisance here at the city, and they need to come and deal with it whatever way they'd like to deal with it.
And Mike and I would be on board with that, because quite frankly, I've called them, I've talked to the state about it several times. And I even looked into like grants for it, and there was nothing in Ohio at this point. They had like in Michigan, but not in Ohio. So if we can get a darting program brought here and dart the deer, I'm all for it.
Well, that would be great as long as the state pays for it. But they're not going to pay for it.
Right,
So
so-
I kind of know what they're going to do, but because they want to have the licenses, of course, and get the fees for the hunting season. So they want all those fees, but then they
Right.
don't want to deal with the issue of the overpopulation of the deer.
But I didn't want you to think I didn't work on that when I started working on this whole program, because when I started working on this whole program, it was because I knew that the dogs and the cats were domesticated, but I knew that the deer and the wildlife were not. So I kind of separated them, and then I started attacking from different angles.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting conversation, especially with the state. I don't know what we do about it because we've been trying to wrestle with it for years, but we'll have to do something and try to, see what the state will do. when we put it
But
back
I'm
in
more
that
than
fund.
happy to help, whatever you need.
Okay, no, appreciate that. Paul, you have some comments?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if this would be for Tracy or Carrie, so what happens if there is no, if you don't get your designation for the 501c3?
I
Yeah.
don't think
That's
that'll
for Carrie,
happen.
I think.
Okay,
Well, I've spoke with Dana Marie Pinella, with Jeff Holland's attorney, where they work together. She seems to think there's no problem here with.
Okay, but what happens if it doesn't?
Then they reapply for it.
okay. And
But,
what happens to the, okay, if
Yeah.
we do release the funds to you and you don't get it, what happens?
Then they reapply for it. But if and they said that.
That's not what we're asking
They
about.
don't, yeah, and I mean.
You're not answering my question.
Yeah, go ahead and answer it, yeah, because I don't
No,
see that.
I don't think they're getting the funds at all. Meow's
If
not
we
getting the funds.
receive the funds and they do not get their 501c3, we will still work with Mission Possible through volunteers to get these animals fixed and re-released. They're still going to do it on a volunteer basis. It will just be run more by the SPCA than it will be Meow Fix.
Okay, all right.
Yes, Paul, I think that the question is that you'll be handling it. All the money's going to the SPCA only. Any additional monies that we give above and beyond what we've already given to the SPCA, that'll go to them directly, and the SPCA will be handling it. Because
Okay.
we can't give money to a non-501c3.
Okay, all right, so it's covered under the SPCA's 501c3. Okay.
And Paul, it's not unusual for it to take a while for the 501c3 designation to come
Okay.
through. That's very natural, and they've got good people working on it. I'm confident they will get their designation.
Okay. And then I know that the Mission Possible and the Meow Fix has some sort of agreement as to how much they're going to pay. That's going to be honored between the SPCA and Mission Possible? That remains the same?
Yes, we work with them currently.
Okay. And then this might be a Greg Huber question. Mr. Huber, will we need some sort of memorandum of understanding between the three entities? Or some variation thereof?
Well, it's not mandatory, it's up to you as to whether you want one or not.
Okay.
We don't have one with the SPCA at this point in time, it's basically been handled through you.
Right, but up to this point here, it's been for whatever animals. Now, since it's a specific purpose, I'm just wondering if maybe we shouldn't have something drawn up for the specificity of this.
Well, I raised a question earlier. I said we just have to make sure that when they go to Mission Impossible and stuff and they get the receipts, that if you want to, since you're handling this, you could look at the receipts and make sure that the receipts match up with the home address, that matches up with maybe the signature of the homeowner, to make sure that things are happening the proper way. Because that's the accountability portion of it, right? Because we're using government funds, we're using taxpayers' money, that you do that already. Currently, you look at the list and make sure that the list is appropriate
Right,
with the
right.
SPCA. Right?
So continue that, okay, all right. And then last but not least, well, maybe not last, but what if I capture a cat and bring it up to you?
Bring it up to the
Yeah,
SPCA.
bring it up to the SPCA. Is that handled in the same fashion as if, say, Carrie would bring it up in her organization?
If it's a feral cat, it won't come to us.
It won't?
They'll hold on
Well,
to it.
I don't know that. I just know it's a
Okay.
cat that I
You can
don't
bring
want,
it to
and I
us, sure.
trapped it and I bring it to you.
Yes, you
Okay.
can bring it to us. We reevaluate, or I'm not reevaluate, we evaluate the cat. We look at its behaviors, the wellness of the cat, and then we make a determination on the behavior of the cat.
Okay.
And if it is feral, and you're willing, and you're a city resident, and you're willing to have us re-release it to you, then we would just have you sign it over to us, and then we work on the TNR of that.
Okay, and then that TNR would go through Meow Cat Fix?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right, okay, thank you.
sure.
Mr. Simpson?
The only thing I wanted to add is, I want to thank Medina Meow Fix and the SPCA for all the hard work they've done on this. I mean, I'm sure it's been an extraordinary task, along with Bill and Jess. But the other thing I want to mention is I want to thank Jim and the mayor for looking into the foundation, which they told the group at Bill's committee that they would do, and that's not an easy task, and I appreciate the hard work that they did for that, too. I'm done.
Thank you. The last kind of couple questions I have is, did you designate an account that this money would come from?
I presume it would be the general fund.
So general administration?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is a little different. I guess you mentioned you wanted to go from finance directly to council tonight with the emergency clause. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
No?
I'm okay.
Yeah, I have reservations about using it as an emergency clause, because it'd just be another 30 days, right?
Well, correct. I mean, remember, the money's going to the SPCA, so they could do this now, and then after the time period's up, they can get reimbursed. So you see what I'm saying? I'm not
Well,
in favor of it because I've been
Do
through
we
a couple
have an
lawsuits.
ordinance, John, do we have an ordinance? I mean, the protocol that we should be following is that we have an ordinance. Kathy publishes it as a part of the agenda, and this has changed a little bit today. So what we're supposed to do is have an ordinance, it gets published, everybody can see it in the places it's published. Public has an opportunity to address the exact language of the ordinance goes to council. So are we going to draft an ordinance between finance and
Well, you still can't publish it. I mean, that's my whole point. That's why I'd rather see it go to finance tonight, pass through, and then the next meeting at council, it could pass that. That's how I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote no if it doesn't, because I've been sued a couple times already because that didn't happen. So I'm not willing to be sued again.
So does that mean you'll vote no on every emergency clause that comes up?
Nope, I didn't say that.
There are
isn't
quite
that-
a
I will
few.
evaluate, this is a piece of legislation new that's coming up. I will evaluate the emergency clause in each one, because most of those emergency clauses that we come before us have already been published, so people in the community had a chance to read it. So that's how I will base my decision on future emergency clauses, based upon if in fact it is emergency in my mind, and if in fact it has been published for everybody to review it. That's how I will address it.
We have addressed more what-ifs about this issue, which is simply the funding now going to the SPCA. We have addressed more what-if than I have seen us do on anything we have discussed here probably, I don't know how long.
I'd say as long as I've been on
We have addressed
council.
all these what-ifs. I don't know how.
No.
I think
You guys
could-
can vote the way you want. I mean, it seems like you may have enough. Eric, are you okay with going through it tonight? I mean, if you are, based upon all this information,
I'm
you
not in
guys
favor
have
of the
enough
emergency
votes
fund.
to pass it.
Pardon?
I'm not in favor of the emergency for tonight.
Right. I mean, I think everybody here, Bill, is in favor of the funding. I think it's just the question of the emergency clause right now.
I guess what I don't understand about the question about the emergency clause is, how many things are on the agenda tonight that we're going to pass with the emergency clause?
I don't know.
And if your fear is that you're going to be sued because we're passing something with the emergency clause on this one thing, why are we not concerned then that we could be sued, which I suppose, according to the law director, is true, we could be sued on anything that we would pass with an emergency clause, I suppose, because we're not giving the public that
Well, it's not the emergency clause that's the question. What we need to have is a draft of an ordinance. We need our own ordinances in terms of how we're supposed to do this. I think it's section 113. Says Kathy has an ordinance, she puts it out. That ordinance can have the emergency clause on it. The emergency clause is fine. I just need an ordinance. Now, in a real emergency where you want me to draft an ordinance between this meeting and council, Kathy and I can go back and type it up, and you can pass it. It's up to you. But that's not how you typically do it. And I wouldn't recommend that you pass legislation without getting an ordinance out there, because that is one of the complaints in one of the lawsuits I'm handling now.
Well, correct, and I guess my point was that the SPCA is going to be handling this. If it passes out of finance that we're going to fund it, I don't think they're going to stop handling it and wait, say we're not going to do anything until we get the money in our hands, because the money is going to be forthcoming. I mean, Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in the SPCA's mouth, so to speak, but if you know that the money is coming from the city, you could commence what you're doing because you know the monies are going to come to cover the cost. Is that correct? Yes, if you may, yes.
We will be happy to do that with the understanding that normally we don't spay and neuter feral cats. That's not really what we do.
Sure.
But we will be happy to do that if needed.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think that it works. I think they understand that we're all on the same page. If it passes out of finance, it'll go to council next meeting. It sounds like that works for the SPCA. I think that's
Good, agreeable?
And then that gives
I can do that.
Greg and Kathy time to
Yeah.
put the ordinance
Okay.
together and then advertise it correctly for 2 weeks from tonight.
Is that okay? Okay. Okay, well, is there any more discussion? I mean, I think we talked it enough.
I will make a motion then to move this forward with $10,000 from the city going to the SPCA for Medina Meow Fix.
And I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very
Sorry
much.
for the procedural discussions and stuff, but we got to get it right. Appreciate that. Okay, next we have 21-164 budget amendments. The first one we have, now I got to get my computer started up here. We have 21, oh, sorry. Yeah, if you want to leave, we'd like you to stay. I mean, this is very exciting. You don't have to.
See you, bud.
Yeah, I was going to say, these people work 24/7.
Okay, thank you. We have 2021-027 miscellaneous. Keith?
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a number of appropriations here. The first one is with respect to capital improvements approved in ordinance 2621. The second one is the court. They'd gotten money from the Special Projects Fund to pay for that case management system. We're repaying that, repaying what the JED Fund gave to the Bicentennial Fund. And then the last two, you'll notice they're the same amount of money. It's to cover a transfer and an advance of the same amount of money vis-a-vis general to TIF so that we can repay that from the TIF fund to the general fund as the money comes in from the TIF.
Correct, and the TIF money includes I believe, the stormwater detention project?
This, I believe, covers everything that we're doing through the TIF at this point.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then we got 2021-028 fiscal year 20 CHIP grant program. Keith?
This is a whole bunch of appropriations regarding those CHIP grants.
Any
Move to
questions?
approve.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-165 fund transfer request for the Muni Court. Keith?
It's not exactly half, it's a little more, but it's basically the other half of the money for the case management system being returned to the Special Projects Fund. The first half was repaid in 2020.
Okay. Any questions?
We're transferring it to the special projects from where?
From the case management fund where it was placed to cover that case management system.
And the origin of that money came from the special projects?
It came
fund?
from special projects, and that right, and we're just paying.
All right, thank you.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-166 fund transfer request for the TIF program. Keith, is this you or is this Kimberly?
This is me, this is the transfer we talked about with the appropriations for the TIF money.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-167 fund advance request for CDBG CHIP grants.
This is related to those CHIP grants that we talked about in the appropriations earlier. This is to move those projects along.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 21-168 fund advance request for the TIF.
This is the second half of that TIF, and then we're done.
Okay, great.
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-169 expenditure of $15,000 for Davis Tree Farm for the Forestry. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is to increase our existing purchase order, not to exceed $25,000 to get enough funds in place for our fall tree planting project in the Forestry Department.
Okay, questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-170, an RFP for drug screening related professional services. Mary Hennessy, Mayor?
Yes, sir. So we do this annually, just to give the different professional drug testing services in town equal access to bid on this, and we will award it before the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 21-171, amending salaries and benefits code for the water department changes. Mr. Pacoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. So currently, we have two operations techs in the water department. One is filled, one is vacant. We'd like to convert that to a water tech. That would be a savings of $3.18 an hour in wages. Additionally, we have two meter service technicians. This is more of a housekeeping item. We want to convert one to a water tech and then add additional water tech. The meter tech to a water tech is just a change in name. There's not a change in wages. It's a wash. The water tech is more versatile. Meter tech simply work on meter-only items. Given the water department and the changes and the needs that we've had recently, a water tech is a better service to the customer in the end.
Thank you, Mr. Pacoli. Question for you. I know that the vacant operations tech is easy to change because it's vacant. The other one's filled, and is the union okay with the changes?
They are, and I should have added that. So we have a meter tech, and that person will be pursuing a Distribution 1 license because the water tech, I should have mentioned that, requires a water distribution license and certification. So the union is okay with it. We've had discussions. Normally, we wouldn't have these discussions in between contracts, but it's time to clean it up. Thank you.
And it'll be effective, and then the jobs will change during course of time, or when would the change occur? This year or next year?
As soon as council would approve it within 30 days.
and all that? Okay.
Absolutely,
Gotcha.
yes.
Any other questions or comments on the modifications to the water department?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed, motion carries. 21-172, MCRC job description revision for the recreation supervisor. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is to revise the classification and job description for the recreation supervisor position. This has been vacant since last November. We are requesting to rename the position the facility supervisor because majority of the roles of the position is to oversee operations of the facility and the staff, mainly at the front desk area, as well as assist with facility rentals and all of our other operations. We identified, Christy and I, that this position is of greatest need for the rec center. We have a couple other vacancies, but we're approaching 70% revenues, and we're seeing increased patron traffic flow day by day. With our peak season rapidly approaching, we've worked pretty hard the last 11 months to try and run as lean as possible to make sure our revenues were as close to our expenses, and we could desperately use some additional support as there were a few months where we're actually operating with just 3 full-time staff as we had an individual out on medical leave. The addition of this position will allow us to focus on continued efforts with programs, as well as reaching past, present, and current members, and additionally allow some of our staff to take much-needed vacations. I have to give a lot of credit to everybody at the rec center that's got us to this point, but as our revenues, like I mentioned, are approaching the 70% benchmark, we're looking to clean up this job description and eventually advertise and do an interview panel to fill the position. It is classified full-time with benefits, with the pay remaining the same for the position. The Civil Service Commission reviewed and approved the changes on September 1st. And the only thing that is outstanding, I'm not sure if Mr. Huber had an opportunity to review the changes.
Mr. Huber?
I just looked at these the last couple of days. I didn't get back to Jansen, but I didn't see a problem with them.
So what I understand it, you're eliminating the recreation supervisor position entirely, renaming it to the facility supervisor, modifying the job description, and the things taken out of the job description that won't be covered anymore, or are there additions added to it? I guess I missed that point.
I'm going to let Christie comment on the specifics pertaining to the job.
Okay, Chrissy?
We reconfigured a lot of our part-time job positions. In the past, we had two different departments staffing the facility and the front desk. We've combined those positions, and we want them to all be under one person serving the facility. So everybody at the front desk, everybody in the fitness room, everybody doing rentals, all reports to one person. And we feel that the facility name reflects that.
Okay, so did the job description, I take it then, expand it sounds like, to cover all the different areas of the rec center rather than just the recreation supervisor itself? It's covering everything in the facility, is what you said.
Actually, it's the front desk attendants. We've done away with those, and those people are now tasked with walking through the building, checking on people. So it's the part-time staff that has changed.
I got you, okay. Okay. Any questions?
I have one question, and I apologize, because normally I would have been at civil service, but I missed it on this day. But is this Kurt's former job then kind of re-envisioned?
Yes.
Correct. Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to double check that.
Any other questions?
Are you okay, Jim, with?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Feel very good
Is there a
about
motion?
that. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-173, expenditure of $15,000 of D&R commercial flooring for the MCRC. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request is a project that we identified as a substantial need at the rec center due to COVID-19. Back in November, we took a look at the facility and decided to repurpose our community room A, which is our larger community room, for those of you that might not be as familiar with the rec center. We were having difficulties holding spin classes and other types of fitness classes due to inadequate space to socially distance. So we had limited class sizes. We did have flooring for community room A identified on our capital improvement plan with the school district. However, it doesn't meet the timeline and the current need for the facility. In the joint operating agreement, we do have the ability to get approval from the school to request an alternation or modification to the facility at our own expense. And I think it's a good use of carry forward funds to look at getting this, it's carpeting similar to what we have here. That's very difficult to clean, and it's not ideal for having spin, fitness, aerobic types classes. So the quote that's here from DNR Commercial Flooring, they are a new vendor. This is a 6-foot rolled rubberized flooring that's designed for fitness centers. It's heat treated and glued down directly to the concrete. So I think it'll drastically benefit operations now, this fall and winter, and moving forward, because it gives us a multi-purpose type space at the rec center for relatively minimal cost, because there's an extreme interest in a lot of the classes that we've brought back. So we're hopeful that we can get this completed soon and completely renovate Community Room A.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. President?
Mr. Rose?
Thank you. Jensen, in the request, there's an asterisk. Additional funds for concrete testing and moisture barrier if needed after demo of carpet. What criteria would have to be met for that to happen?
Yeah, so knowing that it's a relatively newer building, it's highly likely that there was a moisture barrier underneath the concrete.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, so I would assume that it's unlikely, but it was a note that they put on the contract, so we wanted to put it on here in case we do have to come back. It would be something that's completely unforeseen.
Okay. Did he give you a from-to type number? Like it cost you anywhere from here to here?
I'll have to defer to Christie on that. She did the work on this one.
She's shaking her head.
No exact number, but it would just be more plastic sheeting. They are going to run some tests when they pull up the carpet and all of the adhesive. So
Okay.
we'll address it when it comes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I was going to say, I'm assuming you checked everything as far as the COVID funds and things, nothing qualifies for this?
We do believe that it could be a project. The unfortunate thing is the timing of it. We feel that we need to do this now because our traffic flow is increasing pretty substantially, and we're in the middle of painting the room and getting it cleaned up, and we want to have it turned over and ready as quick as possible. It is I would assume that it's an eligible project. It's unfortunate that we couldn't have been on the last round of CARES funding, but it has taken us a lot of time and a lot of thought to prioritize our projects. We did have it identified on our 10% list as a project that we wanted to do. And again, I think looking at it and the need that's there, I think it's a good utilization of the funds that we have set aside for quite some time to gain some extra square footage.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-174, request to reject proposals for sponsorships at the MCRC. Jansen?
I'll start with this one. I might defer to Christy for some specifics. So we did a RFP several months ago to solicit for marketing services at the rec center. We did have a contract that expired with Partner Marketing for the public's benefit and council. This is the company that sold all the banners along the track railing and the bulkheads at the rec center. We put out an RFP, advertised in the Gazette, also emailed it to 6 companies directly. Unfortunately, we got one returned to us, and it doesn't align with what we were looking for in the RFP. It was predominantly focused on naming rights, which is an issue with the JOA, and we already have the Cleveland Clinic in the facility. So it doesn't align well with what we're doing, so we're recommending that we reject this proposal and try and figure out if there's a better way that perhaps we can maybe do this in-house or what. The summary, just for your benefit, the last 4 years, we brought in just under $30,000 with an average of $7,400 a year in advertisement. So we're kind of at a point where do we let what we have expire and clean up the look, because is $7,000 worth banners and names all over the facility, or is it something that we can do in-house? Obviously that's going to take a lot of work, but we do have a marketing department. We've had basically the same 16 businesses over the last 4 years, not a whole lot of new ones. So if we did do it on our own, it would probably be a lot of renewals. We'd have to establish some sort of pricing structure, but we do have that opportunity potentially with the school board and obviously you approving the content that's up there. So it is relatively unique. We just need to go back to the drawing board with it.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Move to reject?
Second to reject?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-175, amend ordinance 9221, fiscal year 21 CDBG allocation grant. Mrs. Marshall? Is you?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. On September 2nd, the Ohio Department of Development notified the city that the grantees that received the allocation of $150,000 can only apply for up to 3 projects. This is not including administration and fair housing. The city originally applied for 4 projects to include code enforcement, mowing machines, gym equipment, and public transit. As a result, the city must eliminate one of those projects, and additionally, the state determined that the purchase of $70,000 of new gym equipment for the Medina Community Rec Center did not qualify for the CDBG funding. So the city must reallocate the $70,000 into the approved categories,
In discussions with the mayor, it was suggested that the grant pick up a portion of general fund allocation to public transit over a 2-year period. By picking up 75% of the city's portion, that would increase the amount for the activity to $73,125. The other suggestion is to increase the funding for code enforcement to partially cover the new full-time code enforcement inspector plus code enforcement work done by the chief building official and the building inspector / property maintenance inspector over a 2-year period. The amount for this activity would increase to $49,375. So I think in your packet, you see the outlines. Code enforcement activity number 1 originally was at $30,000. Now it would be bumped up to $49,375. And the public service activity, which is public transit, which we historically do, originally was at $22,250. Now has been bumped up to $73,125 out of the grant. So what that means is there's less money coming out of the general fund now because the grant is picking up a larger portion of it. And then activity 3 is the machinery for a lawn mowing program, and it's for one of the nonprofits in Ward 1 that would like to buy mowing equipment and help give people that need their lawns mowed and give some of the youth employment opportunity. The emergency clause needs to be added as this revised budget is due back to the State of Ohio Department of Development by September 15th. So we are respectfully requesting that this go to Finance and Council this evening with the emergency clause. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on that?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-176, a then and now for Winthrop Construction Emergency Railroad Repair. Mr. Patton.
Thank you. A couple weeks ago, we'd had a broken rail between State Road and Progress Drive. Had to do an emergency repair to keep the railroad open. Unfortunately, it came in above, I think it's the $3,000 threshold for a then and now.
Any questions on the broken rail?
Emergency clause?
Yeah.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-177, application for loan assistance with OPWC North Huntington Reconstruction. Patrick?
Thank you. At, I believe, the last meeting, council approved our application for a grant for the same project. And I believe I mentioned to council that this year, every year, our district is required to take out a certain number of loans. This year, it's kind of our responsibility to do that. So they're offering a $130,000 zero-interest loan. There's also no prepayment penalty. So this would be part of the package to pay for the project. And thanks for your vote.
And the loan's coming from 108, payback, I guess.
Correct. Yep.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-178, a purchase of 2 dump truck beds for Ford F-550s for the street department. Mr. Pacoli?
Thank you, Mr. President. So we have 2 550 dump trucks in the street department. One is a 2005 and one is a 2007. And we, as we talked about in the budget process, we evaluate these vehicles, maintenance records. Vehicle maintenance department feels that we could replace the beds. They're in really bad shape. A new truck would be close to $80,000. Each replacement steel bed is $16,000, about 20% of that cost. So we feel confident we're further ahead replacing the bed in these 2 trucks. We've done that, if you recall, in the water department. It served well. And we'd like to do that with these 2 trucks.
Any questions?
Mr. President?
Mr. Rose?
Thank you. Mr. Pacoli, the life expectancy of these beds, roughly? How?
On the new beds?
Yeah, on the new ones.
They're going to be a steel bed. Now, we do oil spray our trucks with a new mineral oil. They're not salt. They're not used in the plow crews. That's why, believe it or not, the 07 has 56,000 miles and the 05 has 69,000 miles. So it speaks to the
good maintenance.
the intention of what we're willing to do and put a bed on these two older trucks.
Okay, all right, and then when those trucks give up the ghost, we can take these beds and put it on the replacement?
That's possible.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
That's good management, thank you.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 21-179, amending salaries and benefits code 3109.1, overtime for part-time firefighters. Chief Walters?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure if overtime is the right word there. Maybe it is how it falls into the code. But we are talking about part-time firefighters. So what this is about is historically and currently, the firefighters that staff on one of the, I believe it's 6 premium holidays that the city classifies, they just get paid straight time. So there will either be 3 or 4 of those firefighters, whatever the case may be. And if there is a call that exceeds their ability to handle it, in other words, we have to call people to come back in, those firefighters then get double time with a 1 hour minimum. Yet the staffing firefighters still just get their straight time. So what we're looking to do is pay the staffing firefighters holiday pay, which is it would be the same as our current collective bargaining agreements that we have with PD and service, I believe it is. And it would just be for those holidays. And the language that we've used to change the salary and benefits code language is very specific to part-time firefighters.
Just a couple questions. Do you
Yes,
know
sir.
what other communities similarly situated with volunteer fire departments do?
Well, so I guess I should have expanded on that. The problem that we face is that many of our firefighters are full-time firefighters elsewhere, and their regular rate that they get paid at those jobs is generally much higher than what they make when they're working part-time here. So if they wanted to work on a holiday, normally there are ample opportunities for them to go make triple time at their full-time job.
So that's the question. Do they volunteer to work on holidays, or are they scheduled based upon a revolving schedule?
Yeah, so they sign up to work that shift for us. So essentially they're volunteering, and that is becoming over the last few years more and more difficult to get enough people to work those shifts. We have had issues in the past, and now that we've expanded the staffing to 7 days to include the weekends, we foresee this being an ongoing issue if we don't properly incentivize or compensate them for working the holidays.
Yes, and Mayor, the question I want to follow up with you is that if we do this for part-time people in the fire department, does this necessarily mean that if people work on holidays in other part-time positions, we're going to have to pay them double time around the city?
No, this is a separate provision for firefighters only that the council already had in the salary and benefits code. So we've already isolated it just to part-time firemen. The only words that were changed was before it read, all part-time firefighters that are called back. And I just inserted the words are scheduled to work or called back. That limits it just to this group. I helped the chief with the language. There is one alteration of what was submitted. The finance department, and they discussed this with Mr. Huber, they don't like the word called back versus just called to respond to an emergency. Because then you get into a discussion of are they called back or not called back. So they're asking to strike the word back from that provision that you have before you now. And we feel that this will be workable. Now, mind you, most of the people in the city, I mean, we have a third of our workforce is part-time, but a good deal of those don't work on Saturdays and Sundays and don't work on holidays. If City Hall is closed, all the part-time staff at City Hall are home. So it's a very small group.
Well, that's what my question was, is it just the firefighters? Because what I don't want to get is past something that, because they're being paying, let's call it straight time, normal, regular time during the holidays. I don't want other part-timers in the city to say, well, you just gave double time to the firefighters. If you don't give me double time on the holidays, I'm not going to come in on the holidays, I'm going to quit. I mean, I guess I don't know how many off the top of my head of other similarly situated employees of the city of Medina, part-timers work on holidays.
Well, we didn't have any trouble with it when they were called back to work.
Well, right, well,
and it
calling
was-
back's a little
it was-
different, but
it
the
was
regular people worked at their regular pay, the part-timers worked at regular pay on holidays. That's what it started out as.
What's that?
The firefighters who worked on holidays just got regular pay currently, and now we're giving them double pay. I just wanted to know.
No, not necessarily. If they were called back.
Well, not called back, but I mean, just, we have scheduled people that volunteered to work on holidays and they worked at regular pay, right?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. President.
Right.
So I'm just saying, if we have employees in the city who are part-timers who work on holidays, they just get regular pay too, right now.
Who are not firefighters.
Right.
Well, I know, but I just want to make sure that we don't have anybody that's going to come back to us and they say, hey, I deserve more too because I'm a part-timer and I'm working on a holiday, I should get double pay.
Yeah, I guess I'm having a hard time visualizing
Yeah.
who would be working on a holiday.
That's what I'm asking.
That's critical.
Okay, first, I'm thinking Jansen in the parks.
Yeah, mostly, it's mostly the part-timers that are going to be
the rec
working on would be rec center, because a lot of our part-timers, like our clerical here at City Hall, they're obviously not working on those days because we're closed.
Well, I guess my point is, are we setting a precedent that's going to cause an issue for all the people at the rec center? Because I'm a part-timer and a guy working a holiday, I want double time because the firefighters are getting double time now, and
Well,
they
I
didn't
mean-
get it before.
I mean, what the request in front of you specifically says firefighters, so it's not going to, so I mean, my office isn't going to say, okay, we got to pay them.
No,
But
no,
your
no, I
question
know,
is,
I
are we
know what
putting-
you're
John's-
saying, but again, we're setting a precedent as a council, a legislative body, saying that we believe the firefighters are more important than anybody else in the city. We're going to give you double time, which of course they're a safety force. So we're saying that the rec center people who work on holidays, they're not raised to that level. They only get straight time.
Well, there's really two issues, though. One is when you sign up for the rec center, you understand that it's a 7-day operation. They close for Christmas and 2 days. Okay.
3 days.
Three of the holidays, 3 of these 6, okay? So they know coming in that they're going to work those. I think it is a difference with the firefighters
They don't have to
because,
sign up.
pardon me?
They don't have to sign up to work. on
Right,
holiday.
well, they don't, but the other thing is, we just went to the full, or to the daytime staffing now, so we've got 356 days a year that we're trying to staff, and we're gonna run into holidays. So if we want to have firefighters on holidays, I mean, if we're worried about the rec center, I think we deal with that if it comes along, but the other opportunity is we don't have firefighters to work because they won't sign up then.
No, right. I just want to make sure the council understands that when we make a decision, it has impacts on other parts of the city, whether we know it or not, because this is going to come up again. Sitting here today, this will come up again in front of us, so. It may be, but usually it does. So, because people watch all this stuff. And so I just want to make sure we understand that what we're voting on, I mean, this is a little different. This is a safety force, but we have other.
And again, I don't think it's a difference because it's a safety force. The part-time firefighters, they may want to sign up on a weekend or during the week. It doesn't matter because they want to make extra money, but on a holiday, they could just say, well, you know, I really don't want to work on holiday. The rec center employees can't do that because when they sign up, it's this certain days, you know, of the week that they have to work. The part-time firefighters, that's not the case. They don't have to sign up. And to increase the availability of people willing to sign up for those holidays, I agree that they
No, I'm just trying to challenge you to think this through.
Yeah, I know.
That's all.
Can I ask one clarification though, Chief? Right now, if you didn't have them on and there was a fire and you called your volunteers in, they're getting paid double time if it's a holiday.
That's correct.
Yeah, so all you're doing is.
No, I know there's ways around it, because you can think it through, and then you can say, well, nobody will sign up, and I'll get paid double time. That's a way around it.
Well, Jim's got a good point, though. So we have a duty crew of 3, right, Chief?
Yes, sir.
A duty crew of 3, so you get to a major structure fire, 3's not enough.
Right.
So if we don't change this, the guy is coming on the next truck, and the next truck,
getting paid.
are getting double time, and the guys that are there are getting straight time. We're trying to create parity within the.
Right.
And those guys that were already there volunteered to be there to
Yes, sir.
get there quickest.
Yes, sir.
No, right. No, I was
I
just
don't
trying
wanna penalize
to
them.
focus on the point of what you said is true, but just focus on the point, the rec center people, then they'll say, well, maybe we should try to figure out how we could get double time.
I'll suggest they apply for the fire department, because we could use,
maybe-
we could
maybe
use,
that's-
we
maybe
could
that's
use
the
some
answer.
firemen.
We could use
We could
them.
use,
No, I just want to make sure everybody
Like
thinks
this.
it's true. So, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
So is there any reason why we're leaving the new federal holiday, Juneteenth, out of this?
It's not all holidays, it's just premium holidays as identified in the collective bargaining agreement.
Oh, okay.
So there's 5 that are considered premium holidays, and then there's another 6, I think, that pay some flag for the rest of the year. So there's a distinction between the two.
Okay.
Okay, and then if I read that correctly, as long as we are making this retro to September 1, we don't need the emergency clause.
That's correct.
Move to approve retro to September 1st, 2021,
With the elimination of the word back.
and the elimination of the word back. Thank you.
Yes. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 21-180, American Rescue Plan Act Grant Potential Projects. Mrs. Marshall, is that you? Or is that the mayor? Who is it?
I can take it, just let me finish my notes here.
Okay.
So what we did is put this in front of you. I don't know that you necessarily want to consider it tonight, or just look at it and consider it. What we talked about originally, now, of course, that number went down substantially. It's about 1.3, 1.35 now per installment, for a total of 2.7. Originally, we were told 2.5 for a total of 5 million. So our number has gone down that's available. They've yet to be able to tell us why that happened. But some of these things, as you can see, are more significant and lasting projects, such as stormwater improvements, just a variety of things that we've had trouble with, for quite a while. So really, council, it's under your authority to determine the prioritization, where you think the first impact could make the greatest effect, and then keeping in mind that we're going to have about another 1.3, 1.35 later as well.
So the amount of money, I mean, these are grants that add up to more right now than the money we get.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, and because I did not want, as the administration, to make the determination that I see as council's authority as to with the limited dollars that we have, what do you see as the city's priorities as the funding authority?
So I think that everybody needs to look at these, unless you want to decide tonight, maybe next finance meeting, make the determination of which ones rank highest, based upon, history, because there's a lot of them here, I see here that we've been talking about for 20 years. There's a lot of them here that could be covered by 108. There's different things that could happen, but some of them can't. Some of them, depending on the department, have the funds and some do not. Some of them we started and they didn't finish. So I think that, we should bring this up at the next finance meeting and everybody come up with their list and look at these items that are before us and make a determination of what you believe to be the most important based upon rankings. So if you could do that, that'll be great. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be good. There's a couple questions, too. Maybe we can ask our questions of the different department heads that would oversee it, so we are fully,
Yes, sure.
so we know by next time.
Okay. All right, so that's what we'll do with respect
I
to
believe
those.
Patrick had a question.
Oh, who does?
Or call it, Mr. Patton.
Just a clarification, I see the North Huntington Street projects mentioned, that the limits shown there are actually the ones we already approved, like the loan and the grant from. The actual suggestion was North Huntington, the next part of it, from west north to West Liberty.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, so I think, is there anything else to come before finance before we recess into executive session? Anything? Nope, okay.
If not, I will make a motion to go into executive session at 6:55 PM to conference with the law director for issues concerning disputes involving the city that are subject to pending or imminent court action, to involve the mayor, the law director, anybody else, Mayor?
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Lamb,
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Hazelton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll be recessing into executive session, to discuss imminent litigation, coming out of executive session, taking no action on any item discussed in executive session, reconvening into finance, and then adjourning from finance and moving on to council. We are now in recess.